So I'm going to be talking about civic engagement and how it relates to community solar energy and community solar policy. Well, I should first start off with exactly what is civic engagement. Well, civic engagement is a complex of complexity because essentially it is when individuals are coherently working in a group to improve the development of a combination of factors. These factors include values, motivations, skills, and knowledge through methods of political and non-political means to effectively contest a deficient problem that's introducing a multitude of deficiencies in the community, promoting disagreeableness. And why does this relate to community solar? Well, let me start off with exactly what community solar is. Through my first part of my research, I was able to outline the fundamental principles of community solar. Community solar fundamentally works in a mechanistic approach where individuals, instead of purchasing personal solar panels, they buy solar panels of an array and receive monthly bills to pay for. And in return, they receive a source of energy that is sustainable and environmentally tolerable. So my next part of my research, I'm going to be talking about what exactly is the problem of community solar policy. Why does it relate to civic engagement? Well, in fact, it aligns quite well with civic engagement because civic engagement has actually been quite deficient. This is a very good representation of this because of the limitations that have been enacted by policymakers of this associated subject area. So in order for civic engagement to be of effective proficiency, individuals need to communicate by effective means. And because this is such a bad representation of effective civic engagement, such that individuals have not been effectively communicating, a lot of deficiencies have been promoted in this environment, and a lot of individuals have been affected by it, which brings me to my next part of my research. What is the result of this problem? Well, because of this result, because individuals have been deficient in their ability to communicate by effective means, divergence in the community has been promoted. Individuals have not been effectively engaged in this community and have not grown fond of it. And that's because of the development process being subject to hindrances and principles that have been effectively undermining the development phase. And it's spread a multitude among different geographic regions. So this brings me to my next part of my research, provisions to state net metering language. Well, a multitude of provisions to state net metering language have been enacted, and this actually is mentioning two parts of my research, the Community Solar Garden Modernization Act and the State Net Metering Act. So first, I want to talk about the Community Solar Garden Modernization Act. What is this? Well, exactly, this is actually an act that has effectively been enacted by policymakers through effective levels of civic engagement. Essentially, individuals have developed their awareness, have developed their understanding of the limitations in this community and why it has been effectively reducing its circumstances of expansion. And underlining those principles, they've been able to accommodate that with the promotion of a policy, the Community Solar Garden Modernization Act. And essentially, this expands the generative apparatus of the substructure of such systems. Furthermore, it increases accessibility within communities, not just LMI communities, in communities of variable circumstances. Furthermore, into my research, I was able to understand that through active levels of civic engagement, provisions to state net metering language have been made. And this is actually a very good representation of effective levels of civic engagement because these individuals develop their knowledge, skills, motivation, and values through political and non-political means to effectively contest a problem that's bestowing a multitude of deficiencies. And so these provisions to state net metering language have been important and valuable for the growth and expansion of the community because systems are now able to expand in greater magnitude are now able to encompass areas of wider geographic regions. Because net metering of the past have been very sufficient in its ability to effectively work in a mechanistic process, the introduction of virtual net metering has allowed for reduced hindrances and contingencies that so often of the past has been present. So my last part of my presentation, I'm going to be outlining the last part of my research, which is the various policy provisions. So, what do these various policy provisions do? Well, upon civic engagement, upon effective means of so, that individuals have been able to expand their development, individuals have been able to expand their knowledge, particularly, and skills, values, and motivations to continue to promote community solar. Community solar has been subjected upon a multitude of entities that have been causing distortions in the ability to expand, but because individuals have grown in awareness and have grown into a coherent process, instead of individuals working in isolation from each other, they diverged, or rather they converged to a path of coherence, and by doing so effectively, community solar has expanded quite recently, and quite in pronounced representation. So, civic engagement, a concept of complexity, in alignment with another concept of similar resemblance, is a very good representation of active levels of communication, of active development aspects of values, motivation, skills, knowledge, and through the use of methods of political and non-political means, individuals are able to contest the problem of appreciated contingencies. And by depressuring such problems through effective levels of civic engagement, individuals are able to contest the problem of extreme volatility, and such that climate change is incredibly important, and individuals are now paying more attention to its effects and are developing more appropriate solutions to combat such means. And through active levels of civic engagement, it is certain that an individual or a group is effectively going to be participant worthy to effectively accommodate and compromise such depreciated values. And these values of depreciation certainly are undermining to the improvement of a society. And if a community is in need of trying to interchange that, then effective means of civic engagement is of invaluable worth. And I believe that community solar is going to trend in the development of active level of civic engagement. Only so it's going to prosper, because individuals are continually invariably motivated to continue to combat such contested challenges that are being introduced to the environment of society and causing distortions and furthermore deficiencies and rather disagreeableness within a society. And this contestment is actually incredibly important, and certainly through civic engagement, it is certainly doable and soluble. So this is exactly how community solar policy, how community solar energy is intertwined with the conceptual, perplexed process of civic engagement. And I thank you for your attention.